Hello, my name is Mark Gilmour, and I head up the Mobile Connectivity Solutions and Market Incubation team in Colt Technology Services. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts on what I mean by intelligent connectivity to make 5G a reality. To start with, I wanted to place a little bit of context to the presentation by sharing who Colt is and what we do. Nothing shows the breadth of the Colt footprint better than a map of the network. The Colt IQ network enables global reach with a local focus across Europe, Asia, and North America on Colt fiber and utilizing a single global AS. This global reach, though, is complemented by the focus of our local metro footprint in 32 countries, connecting over 29,000 enterprise locations, along with 900 data centers and co-location facilities. As a business, our core focus is on serving B2B customers in multiple sectors such as finance, retail, industry, healthcare, and manufacturing, utilizing that single AS SDN optimized Colt IQ fiber network. But as for me, well, I'm a mobile guy. So what is a mobile guy doing in a fixed network player? Well, I joined Colt to create a team looking at the impact of cellular and wireless evolution to Colt and our customers, and then developing solutions and the evolution needed to deal with the 5G era based upon this incredible infrastructure and footprint that Colt has. Now, I'm a keen cyclist. This is me. And I've spent many hours and days riding through the mountain ranges in Europe and elsewhere. Now, when participating in a bike event or a race, it is good to understand the route profile or the parcours to know what to expect and how to measure one's effort and reach the end goal. Often these bike events or races are split into stages, individual sections along the way. This is a parcours from a ride that I participated in before in the past. As you can see, it's got lots of ups and downs. Not only ups and downs, but it has slow sections and fast, flat sections. The full grandeur of the ride, though, is not realized until completing the journey. The profile of the parcours reminded me a little of the very familiar hype cycle that has been published by Gartner for many industries. The hype cycle shows that big climb at the beginning of the peak of inflated expectations, and then that steady descent into the trough of disillusionment before moving along the slope of entitlement and hopefully hitting then the plateau of productivity. Interestingly, Gartner has placed 5G services today just over the crest of inflated expectations and is now heading into that trough of disillusionment. Now, I'm hoping that just as on a bike ride, that when you hit that peak and start the descent, that we can move swiftly at speed through the disillusionment back onto that enlightenment stage towards becoming productive. Now, the reason for my hope in this is centered in the fact that the 5G era has only just begun, and that we're only at stage one or phase one. There are already 5G commercial services that are now just over a year old, based upon the initial 5G standards release, release 15. Combining this with the expansion of the device ecosystem, such as Android and iOS devices, like the recent iPhone 12 launch, has allowed operators to build mobile broadband applications and commercialize those. But this is nowhere near the end of the journey for 5G and use cases. More spectrum is becoming available. The standards continue to evolve. With release 16 this year, the standalone 5G core was completed enough to allow new use cases and private 5G cellular opportunities. So understanding the journey, i.e. the parcours, means that we can manage the effort and delivery. Now, the 5G phase one rollout is well underway. Operators in all regions have initially focused on those dense metros, and the demand and technology has driven operators to densify their cell sites and or move their cell towers to fiber-fed solutions. And as a result, the city metro now requires dense, high bandwidth programmable connectivity to power next generation technology and applications. This requirement for dense, high bandwidth programmable connectivity is also driven by certain trends in the 5G era coalescing together. Virtualization of the functions in both the radio access network and the core network, along with cloudification of the infrastructure, especially in the edge of the network, creating a distributed cloud architecture that allows then for the cellular network to be constructed and engineered in such a way to meet the requirements of the service offered. This service-based architecture places a fundamental change in demand on the network infrastructure at both a physical and a virtual level, especially where different services requiring different performance are to be offered concurrently. Other trends that are coalescing in this, for example, disaggregation and the use of open standards. A key example of this is the disaggregation of the radio access network itself into different functional splits, creating new infrastructure segments, front, mid, and backhaul, sometimes known as X-haul collectively. And then finally, as I mentioned previously, densification itself, more sites and smaller cell sites, all requiring efficient solutions for connection. Now, I'd like to share a brief history of how the Colt IQ network has grown to be and evolved to meet those requirements that are common in both the telco enterprise and 5G space. Initially, the network was physical based, with well understood traffic control and forwarding. A key strategic moment for Colt took place in 2016 with the move to software-defined network. This began the journey of automation and orchestration, programmability and flexibility in the network that is a necessary fabric of the 5G era. I should note at this point that having had 3 years of commercial SDN experience behind us with SD-WAN and on-demand based product and service offerings, we had established a platform that really came into its own at the beginning of this year to be able to cope with the major shift in traffic patterns caused by the global pandemic. Our customers have benefited from that programmability and flexibility in the network layer. Now, returning to the history of the Colt IQ network. In 2019, we made the step of introducing virtualized network functions and the telco cloud infrastructure. This is anticipating the direction that not just 5G networks will take, but also the telco environment to host those virtual functions. This has provided us with the framework to move then towards the intelligent orchestrated network, where analytics, machine learning, and end-to-end orchestration and service creation, as well as lifecycle management, enhance the programmable network fabric. Now, I wanted to provide some examples of tangible steps of what that meant as you create the intelligent network. And these are some of the steps that Colt itself has taken to create that intelligent network for dense, high bandwidth metro connectivity and edge computing infrastructure. Some of the steps are physical, such as building out more fiber for denser metro footprint and edge infrastructure, or having the right physical interfaces in place to cope with bandwidth growth, for example. Other steps, though, include introducing stringent network-based synchronization, commercially launching technologies such as segment routing and EVPN for flexible service creation and management of the network, and enabling the Metro Edge data center and virtualized infrastructure and orchestration layers. But this is all very well and good. We can't lose sight of the why. Why do all of this? All of this combines to offer an enhanced, flexible, tailored customer, carrier, or partner experience across the network. All of the technology and smart connectivity is of no substance if it doesn't make the end customer experience better. Virtualized infrastructure coupled with programmable and automated connectivity enables use cases that are here today and those that will evolve throughout the 5G era. As a tangible example of this, for example, by creating the ability of hosting vRAN and open standard-based core functions on a wholesale or on a service level basis, we can illustrate how the customer experience can be improved. For example, using a service such as wholesale neutral host to enable in-building cellular coverage that we're currently working on with our partners, mobile operators in the UK and in-building specialists. The end user has improved usability of their mobile service. The customer, who is the landlord, has improved customer experience of their building. This is a use case today. But the future use cases within the 5G era will need to be centered in customer value that they bring. And I'd just like to look forward just for a moment to some of those future use cases. The parkour of 5G is not restricted to that first climb to get mobile broadband services off the ground. At Colt, we're already engaged in several trials and experimentation around utilizing that intelligent infrastructure layer of connectivity and edge to enable smart verticals in industry, retail, and health. I look forward to be returning next year maybe to give an update on how these have progressed when I'm able to say a little bit more about them, as they're some are at quite early stage right now. But in doing so, a key part of the intelligent network is understanding how to bring this all together, how to bring together the right ecosystem for the given vertical, whether that's industry, whether that's retail, whether that's healthcare, or for the right opportunity that 5G era opens up. A combination then of technology and market partners enables then the right mix for whatever that as a service offering becomes. We've been very clear at Colt that we will not and we do not intend to do it all on our own, but instead offer the best of breed that comes from us and from our partners to in creating that opportunity and that use case. Now, before I conclude my presentation, I want to spend a moment just speaking on security. An essential component of the intelligent network is to secure that network, and security also needs to be intelligent in the 5G era. The risk vectors in the virtualized, disaggregated digital world are much wider than previous. We've got threats from access, threats through API, basically across all the layers. And that means that the approach needs to be much more holistic at the service layer and end to end. To illustrate this, let's look at the current situation in 2020 with a more distributed workforce. With the major shift in traffic patterns, the demand for direct access to corporate resources has increased. The traditional view of perimeter-based security is not really no longer viable, but a more holistic end-to-end approach is required. This holistic end-to-end approach then protects the application, it protects the connectivity, the infrastructure, and the device, and therefore is an essential element of the intelligent network. So this brings my presentation to an end. My closing thought is that to get 5G as a technology through the parkour of hype and expectation, realizing real customer and end user value, i.e. to enable 5G in all its use cases, it really does require intelligent connectivity. By intelligent, I mean programmable, flexible, automated, service-driven, and secure. The story of 5G is reliant upon the narrative of intelligent connectivity. And with that, Thank you very much for your time